Hey everybody, it's time to go over Choice of Life, my entry for Game Jam 2024 using the Shadowdark rules. We already reviewed 3 of them live on stream. If you're here live, you were there for this. Comment down below if you are wanting to see me do some more of these reviews. And thank you to the audience members for here for behind the screen as I'm recording a little bit of extra piece to put out into the world. So Choice of Life is my entry, and without fucking around too much, let's just go over to the table and take a look at what I've made and why. I'm also gonna give you some really kind of special behind the scenes stuff. For example, the fur in the background of this is actually a bunch of pictures of my dog's fur after a bath and brushing that I thickened up, blurred, and turned into the coat on the background. My dog is kind of like a hellhound, and it seemed right. You'll see that as we go into this. I did all the design, cartography, and layout for this. The art, most of it is AI generated that I've done paint overs on top of to make this style and theme fit that I wanted. Cut out things we didn't need. Normally I would hire artists for this, but short on time, no budget for the project. You do what you got. So I wanted people to see Choice of Life and immediately see the cover and go, oh, this is how I start what I'm doing. It's right here. There's nothing else to it. And you immediately roll a d6 and you pick. And it tells you the hour that this would start. And you'll note that down. The reason I did it is this is over 24 hours that this whole extravaganza happens. And for that to make sense, let's take a look at the books that I have. And that's our inside cover of what I have to do. In the introduction, I show off my weird tales. I'll zoom in a little bit. Those who were at my previous live show, you saw me pull these live and go, I already fucking know it. So I've got our lovely werewolf's daughter. In the middle, that's the Thunder of Dawn. And then the last one is the Weird Tales, the Wicked Flea. Do you notice that flea's the size of the dog? I did. And that's how all of this stuff came to be. Really, the outside edge ones in the orange kind of married in the middle. And I use that Thunder of Dawn as the rest of the family, and she is the outskirts of the family. The executioner is getting ready to murder her. The book hanging there plays an important part in the game, and I wanted to have fleas that were the size of dogs in a very special way, but I wanted it to make weird sense. You notice that my font picks for a lot of this stuff, for sure. This is that kind of flea-ridden, bitten feel. And if we go up to here, I'll even mark my own stuff up here. Let's just highlight something. Let's get a different color. We'll do pink, because I think pink will show. So I wanted to make sure that I gave people a lot to play with. I did a quick sketch of an ink hex-based map, threw a hex over top of it, and I changed the hex scale. Each hex is roughly 2 hours to walk, 1 or so when you're riding. And if you're in forests or mountains, you add or subtract some hours. There was a last-minute addition to this because I wanted people to understand that you don't have to constantly check the time. You just need to know how many hours have passed, and I wanted it to be easy to click and go through. I gave you some numbers. I gave you some simple symbols. They don't matter what they are. I just made the larger one large because that's the main city. I made the square one square because they're similar sites, and the other circles are just sites. And then you got the meteor crash that is over here. I made some rumors. I wanted to make sure rumors felt important to the story and were good jumping off points, and to also tie into that first page. You'll notice that if you roll a 1 to start the game, a PC or an NPC, I did that because you never know what players are like, dies under the crash of the game. You're just dead. Just dead. And that's what it is. You're dead. And I wanted to have that kind of feel for this stuff, right? I wanted to feel like maybe you could die out of the gate because it's just a fun opening, especially if you're running this thing. I saw this as a print media piece, so I wanted the front cover to have all the information on it, and also to have the introduction on the next page so you know what's going on. I put all the major NPCs in one spot that are in this right up front because I personally like to know what I'm getting into and what I'm playing. This was an 8-page format. That's all we got was 8 pages. And I mean nuts to butts, cover to cover. We didn't get to put any frill stuff in there. The fact that I fit a cover at all is only because I put a table. I broke over my lovely pieces here on what I'm doing and why. I even put a link here for a hyperlink. This link, which is a pop-up box, takes you over to the live stream of me coming up with the concepts for what I was doing. And I did draw this map. That's not bullshit. The map is mine. I drew it. I drew it in pencil, and I went through and inked it afterwards. You can even see my notes from the show. So the reason I put that there is so people can see my process and what's going on if you were going to run this for yourself later on down the line. Formatting notes, I like this. I learned this from a lot of people over the years. If you're going to be using formatting as a way to teach people, you also need to give them an idea of what it is. Bold is something important. Italics is used to refer to a person or something of importance, usually. Bold is like really if I want it in your face. Bold italics means it's from the Shadowdark book. And in parentheses, it's to summarize or give contextual information. Basically just so you may see that over other things. I tried color coding. It worked better. And out of the gate, I want you to know the choices and goals of the game. You're either working for the werewolves, working for the Fleaborn, or do what players do, take all the shinies and fucking run. That right there sets the tone. I put my piece here for Shadowdark, so they know that I did use these things. And then I went into the story, and I gave you a brief synopsis of the story. Anytime you see a moon, it's something important. I wanted to have iconic designators to help people as we go through. I'm a visual learner, and I think a lot of people, especially now with how much we use phones, I think we're more visual learners than we ever have been. So I added those in. The main locations are super important areas that you're going to be in or around often, from Hawther's Valley, which is the whole map, to the Lunar Trail, which is where the moon sets next to behind the mountains, creating total darkness. And then the crash site, I think you're going to be around pretty often because everybody wants to go to that. And then the event times is the mechanic that I'm adding to my adventure. I love designing a new mechanic that makes you feel like this adventure is different than other adventures you've used. And that's what this is. And look, keeping track of time is weird, but Shadowdark has already trained you to keep track of time by putting an hour timer on the table or doing things similar to that. And I thought, why not ramp it up and make something that happens over the course of 24 hours? So that's what this is. Within these 24 hours, you're going to get 24, well, a little less than 24. Some things are multiple hours. But the opening one is the death of the dog. One, she's not going to be in the game. She's murdered. But she is kind of the linchpin for how all this shit went south. But then we have the meteor over a couple hours as it falls and crashes and impacts into the executioner heading home. And I'm giving you a time plot line so you know by the end of 24 hours where everyone is and kind of what's going on. To me, when you're running a hex-based thing, the hardest thing to do is I don't want to fill out every hex because you just get this salad of words that don't actually mean too much until you're playing. But I think that this event scope gives you a good idea of everything that's going to happen over the course of your gameplay. On the right-hand side, the unsafe, the risky, and the deadly is to designate random encounter rolls. When you get into these time frames, that's when those things get risky. And then, because I love when people do it, I put a little reference down at the bottom for the things that I think you should watch or listen to while you're running this. The Thing, Psycho Goreman for the humor and the style of the humor, because I love body horror. Hellhole is a horrible movie, but there's some really good set pieces in it that will help. And of course, the movie VHS. This is a great fucked up weird horror movie, and we're running something horror based, so I figured it makes sense. Hex Crawl, I fit it all on one area, and I tried to use color to teach things. So for example, most of the time when something's orange, it's information about the game system or what you're going to be doing, and the blue are locations, monsters, things like that. I even changed the Hex Crawl page to a blue. If you zoom all the way out, you can kind of tell it's got a blue tone. So when you're flipping through, you know this is what you're looking for, using color to denote what a page is comprised of. Travel and torches, I changed a few things. You'll notice that it's 1 hour mounted, 2 hours walking. Encounter table has random encounters. I do recommend, look, if you're running encounters and they want to stay in the forest and they don't want to do anything over 24 hours, Pull up the Shadowdark one. Pull from the forest table. There's nothing wrong with that. I have tables in the beginning that you can roll on, and they are very specific. Once the worm comes out and things start getting bad, you can roll on the tapeworm encounters. That's right, I said tapeworm. Encounter tables. And if you want a hex encounter and you want it tied to the story, I gave you a hex encounter table. But other than that, feel free to use any of the tables that are in Shadowdark. There's no reason not to. These are all of our different locations. You'll notice that if it's in orange, I'm trying to give you a GM note of like, yo, do this. And I also teach you about hours. The 1 to 8, 9, and 11 that you see under the village here, this is to teach you very simply that those are the hours that are happening on this table. I would recommend printing that table and setting it aside just so you have it. And I even tell you in this to put 1 through 24 on the bottom of your sheet so you can just check boxes as you're going through. Eventually I'll put out a cheat sheet that kind of lets you have all this on one page. It'll probably have the event, some form of marking for time, what you've encountered, who's dead, like major NPC names you can cross out, who's alive and you can circle them, and then I'll have some monsters at the bottom so you can track all your damage and all that kind of fun stuff. So you get through the whole thing. I will note that anytime you go to a location, this is the order of operations that you're going to do. Check hours passed for the event, check hex has a specific encounter, check hex and risk level, roll for an encounter. If any of those become a yes, you just stop, you use that one. And if you ever have to get down to the bottom one, you use that. It lets you kind of make sure you're randomizing, but prioritizing story over just a fucking encounter for encounter's sake. I won't ruin anything that's here, but I do want to talk about 2 important spots here. Maybe 3 important spots. Corpse Pit, it's up to you to decide how you want to handle this. I put who murdered them there, so you know that there's something bad happening, but you could use whatever you want. If you want them to lead towards the fleas, make it somebody else. If you want them to lead towards the wearers, make it a fleaborn. Make it whatever you want and make them go in that direction. It's to be an activator or a catalyst for problem. When you look at the Fleaborn camp, there's knights. You'll notice that italicized. Again, use knights from the book. And if they're a Fleaborn, you're just giving them a jump again. Crescent Altar is important, but this is the one I wanted to talk about. The Crash Site. The Crash Site is ground zero. Everything happens here, and the Crash Site is different as the hours go through. So when they go there, check the hour in, and there's different things. But if it gets to being the cultist there, this is endgame. Like, if there are 2d12 plus 2 cultists there, you're gonna die when they turn to rogues. That is an endgame scenario. And it's supposed to be. That means over the course of 24 hours, your players didn't do anything to stop what was going on. You had a chance to wipe them out, but there is an escape. If there is a portal open, you can take them to the Crescent Temple on the moon. And I left that open. I kind of want to do what I'm calling the Full Moon Edition, which is like another 5 pages roughly, and we'll add some of this stuff in. But for the game jam, I only had 8, and I taught you in the beginning of this, for preparation, grab your favorite maps. I recommend Dice and Logos. There's a hyperlink there for it. Fleaborn Lancer, make one. It's a great NPC. And then put 24 squares or circles at the bottom of the mark. So I am teaching you to be ready for the unknown. Having a Rolodex of map system helps your life so much. And then we have our monsters. I love monsters. And I put a GM's note right at the top. It says emancipated monsters have half their hit points to start, allowing dangerous, fast-paced encounters. Look, one of the encounters on there are 2 hellhounds. Another one is a griffin. Those are really powerful things for the level 3 to 4 time frame that I'm putting you in. But if they're half hit points, you have a chance. I had the Executioner in here. I would definitely make him a bigger part if I do the Full Moon Edition. We have the Flea Swarm, because I love swarms in games. They're horrifying. They spread the tapeworm disease like they should. We have the Flea Werehunter. These are people with man catchers made of moonstone that damage werewolves. They can hit it double near with them. They have the catch 'em ability and sense tapeworm. They know when a tapeworm is being far. And then the named fleas, you add these extra abilities below. They're the 2 important ones. Again, you see those crescent moon, that orange designating that they are important. And of course, as you go through, we got the Worm That Walks, the big bad. My favorite generated one that I did some extra work for. He has 3 really powerful pieces. He's hella dangerous. He's a level 5. Hard to kill. And he's going to mess your party up. I marked here that it's a paint over AI image, so people know they are AI generated. But I did a lot of paint over on some of these. And then the Werewolf and Tapeworm. GM note, werewolves already eat double that of a normal person. So if they have tapeworm, it's 4 times the amount. That means that if you're already eating double as a were creature to consume rations for the day, now you're eating 4. You're going to run out of food. And I never said one of the players might become a werewolf during this, but I think that's implied. When you have a werewolf, I think you know the players are either going to try to become them. It's just there. I wanted to give gear. Meteor Dust lets you open a portal. This is up to the GM when they want to give this out or if they give that out. I didn't tell anyone what treasure to give out. I feel like the treasure tables in Shadowdark do that. I just having the gear here is enough. And then Moon Blades, a lunar blue glimmering metal that can be any bladed weapon. And you can turn this into a bladed weapon for your players. Benefit, it harms werewolves. It deals an extra weapon die of damage. And then the curse is if a werewolf's within near of you, it forces them to transform, even if there's not a full moon. I put new weapons in here, which we'll get to in a minute. It has to do with the back of the book. And I put a new Ancestry in. I wanted flea people. A small, feisty, and stactile humanoid that seems to hop as it walks. They get a near distance. They can either walk or jump near. And I think the thing I'm proudest of in this is I wanted retro. I wanted nostalgia. And I made a new class called a Lancer. This is my homage to Dragoons from Final Fantasy. And it says new gear inside, so that's why you saw that gear on the back page. I imagine you picking up this printed copy and looking at the cover and flipping it over and seeing a new class and going, yeah. And it'd be even cooler if I could get that little action figure to stick on the back and sell them with action figures on the back, if I could do some 3D prints. But anyway, I digress. I love this new class. It's super fun. It's kind of like my kind of mercenary, with new talents for them and everything else. And then this last page I have in here is just so you all can see the process I went through when I was making this. I'm a big fan of designing something and showing how I make it. You can see my rough sketches, you can see my font picking, and then where I got my colors and everything for, and then I design my banners over in Canva as a challenge to myself. So if you're going to run this, I'm going to be doing a bigger edition later, but I hope you enjoy running this open sandbox style of a werewolf and fleas. And I like to remind everybody, on the moon, there's a little line in there that says the fleas are human size, like the normal fleas, they're like human dog size. So that means that if you use a swarm there, they're larger. Use your imagination if you end up running the temple for yourself. And when they come to Earth, they're small because of gravity. And they're all around this rocky site. They're born out of everything. It's a really fun piece that I hope you enjoy. So if you're going to run this yourself, down below, put a comment. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And if you don't know, you can always join my Discord. We have active people in there. I do run live games. I'm a professional GM that runs things. I've competed most of my life, so feel free to hit me up if you're looking to play something in the future. But most of all, there's 2 things on the side: a video to watch, and obviously there's going to be the subscribe. We're trying to hit our 500, and every Monday and Tuesday, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th week of the month, we do live shows. Monday is Shadowdark under my setting Breachers, and then on Tuesday we do our Dragon Bane of Fun, a Soul Punk Victorian horror setting. If this helped you out at all, let me know. And like always, watch, listen, learn, be a better gamer, and go support these people who did the game jam. All the links are down below.